Good morning. We're live on YouTube. We want to be live on Facebook as well. That's Atlanta Falcons on SI and Scott Kennedy Sports. It is Wednesday. We've had some time to marinate on this last game and looking forward to the next one, even though there's an extra day of rest in there. Welcome in, everybody. This is the Falcons Podcast. It is the Wednesday edition. I titled it Atlanta Falcons at Philadelphia Eagles Preview. But for me, Nick, it's a little bit more of still kind of a retrospect on what the Atlanta Falcons are and what they're doing and what they will evolve into over the course of the year. But first off, how are you doing, my friend? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm doing okay. I'm watching my internet right now, so hopefully everything is okay there. We have our first little bout of weather, and it feels like it's kind of going in and out, so I don't know. But I'm doing okay. Little guy's had some diarrhea, and hopefully we're on the mend now after a doctor's appointment yesterday.
Well, good. Yeah, I know I had to fill in for you last night. Hopefully everything went okay at the doctor's office, and that we'll still get to see you this weekend in Denver.
Mm-hmm.
So one of the reasons we go live is because we like having the conversation with all y'all. So there's some folks that came in before we even got started. Want to say hello. John Harrell, he says, good morning, Scott and Nick and the Falcons crew. This game on Monday could get ugly if the offense doesn't show major improvements. Salute to major improvements. We'll get into that, John. Jamal, he says, good morning, everyone. Rise up, bounce back week. We'll see. I like bounce back weeks at home better than I like them on the road on Monday Night Football. Michael Ronquillo, the sunrise is in here. I feel like I missed you on Monday, but you were here. I just missed you. So I did miss you on Monday. So good morning, Scott and Nick on the Falcons podcast. Nicholas comes in. He says, good morning, everyone. Hopefully Monday, Atlanta can steal a win from Philadelphia. Cousins has to execute better, and hopefully he can play under center to get play action into this game. So let's get into this one a little bit because the more, Nick, we dug into this game over the course of the last, the 48 hours that followed it, the more concerns I had about the game and the game plan and why the game plan was the game plan, because Kirk Cousins didn't have a chance in this game. I mean, yeah, he made some mistakes, but when you go to something like, Field Yates put out there, he says, interesting note from ESPN, the Falcons were in pistol or shotgun on 96% of their snaps. The difference between the pistol and the shotgun is where it's where the running back lines up. If the running back lines up directly behind the quarterback, it's the pistol. Of the 22 snaps out of shotgun, the Falcons had 0 designed runs. 0. So if you're not in pistol, you're throwing the ball 100% of the time. Of the 26 snaps out of the pistol, the Falcons ran it 81% of the time. So if the running back's behind you, you're running the ball. I mean, we talk about tells all the time, like subtle tells based on personnel. But how much more? You can't win if you're that obvious in the NFL. I don't care who you've got back there. You're not going to be able to move the ball. This is why you have internal analytics departments to say your tendencies are becoming too obvious. My God, man. And then, to run 0 play action. Kirk Cousins, he wasn't mobile. Okay, that's a different problem. Mm-hmm. I can run play action out of the shotgun without ever moving my feet if I'm a quarterback. We've seen it a zillion times. You stand there, the running back comes for a handoff, you fake a handoff, you stand up and throw without ever moving my feet. I can do that. They didn't even do that.
Yeah, bizarre.
It's concerning, Nick. It is.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the offensive design there. I mean, obviously, somebody corrected me on Monday, and they were correct going back to the data that the Rams started to utilize pistol a lot more last year, and we saw that. But Sean McVay's been very heavy in the play action his whole career. So, and you brought in Kirk Cousins. I mean, Kirk Cousins' whole thing with Kevin O'Connell, a Rams disciple, was he was one of the best play action quarterbacks in football. So really bizarre to see that happen. And I don't know if it's injury or what, but we'll find out.
Yeah, and some of it, like I said, that's a bigger concern. They're showing some of the, as you go through and some of the plays come out on Twitter and stuff as you're watching, and you see the end zone angle of Kirk Cousins throwing the ball. That's concerning. when he's lifting off of his back foot, it's flopping around like a fish instead of driving off of that back foot. You're like, good Lord. And then the way they schemed it, put him in a position that he's not used to being in, into a formation to protect him. I'm like, all right, this is $100 million investment at minimum. You've got a 24-year-old rookie back there. I don't know why. I don't know why they forced it like that. Is this really how you think is the best way to win if Kirk Cousins is healthy? Or, which I don't agree with, or is he not healthy and this was the best way you thought to protect him, which I don't agree with. So the whole thing, I wrote it up because Dan Orlovsky and Damian Woody did a good job with this on Monday morning, and I wrote it up on Atlanta Falcons on SI, that if he is healthy, take the bubble wrap off him and let's go to work. If he's not healthy, sit his ass down.
Yeah.
Before you end his career. If he's not healthy, put him on the bench and let's see Michael Penix. So yeah, I've got some concerns. I know week one, this isn't about how you played. Oh, they had some mistakes, turnovers. This is a fundamental thing to me that it's easy to change. So it's not overly concerning, but if this is how it's going to be, I've got big concerns, Nick.
I mean, how could you not, right? And you use the, 8th overall pick on Michael Penix to be here. Are you so concerned about the inner locker room politics that you're playing an injured Kirk Cousins and the financials there, a sunk cost? I mean, and if Penix plays great, I mean, that's a good thing if Penix plays great. So I don't know. It was bizarre. Again, Cousins has been fantastic with the under center play action game since Kevin O'Connell joined the Vikings. So to me, it just screams that he's not healthy, but we'll see.
Right. And again, the under center, okay, we didn't want him to do as many dropbacks in his first game back. Let's get through it. It's a long season. Okay. That doesn't excuse zero play action. That is a play calling, the predictability out of the pistol and the shotgun. That's just bad. That's just poor. When you run either a pass or a run out of this formation every time, you're not beating anybody. You're not beating anybody, let alone the Pittsburgh Steelers, if you become that predictable. Got a couple super chats coming in. Want to say hello. Sam Clance, apologies. I think he's kind of on the same page with us. He says, what's worse, Kirk not being able to go under center or Zach thinking we need to run play action? You've got to have some play action. I mean, a strong running game sets up the play action. We talked about how do I get in behind. Bijan Robinson was effective running the ball. Now, was it, a 150-yard game? No, but he was getting 4 yards a pop. That's effective. 2nd and 6 is okay in the NFL. 3rd and 2 is really nice in the NFL. You don't have to be popping runs off. You want to slow down the linebackers or get the safeties out of the box? Let's run a little play action. And then bring in Charlie Warner to help out with TJ Watt if you're going to run some play action. If that dude's got his ears pinned back or you're dead, he's going to kill a play action. I get that. I do.
I mean, even for you, your point, Scott, is play action to set up the pass, but I mean, play action to set up the run, right? You're trying to protect Kirk Cousins there, and you got two very aggressive athletic linebackers there at the second level, more than that if you're counting the edges, with the Steelers. And this is a game that you probably needed to run the ball pretty efficiently, especially if Cousins has some issues going on still. So the play action to at least make the linebackers pause in the run game, or the pass rushers pause in the run game, is also viable. So I don't know. Do you not trust him to be healthy enough to get back there in the under center drop back play action game? Well, then he shouldn't be playing in the NFL against the freaking Steelers. I don't know. It is a lot of questions, and I hope they hold their feet to the fire this week. And if it's another issue, I mean, these early games matter a lot, right? Every game counts the same, but the Saints, we'll see how good the Saints are.
And
Buccaneers,
thank you to Josh.
Incredible, so, yeah.
Josh Kendall started. He came out of the gate. He's like, listen, is Kirk Cousins healthy? So thank you. Josh Kendall, the Athletic. I've known Josh pretty much my entire professional career. I think he was down with the Columbus Ledger Enquirer, worked over in South Carolina, worked in Gwinnett. Josh is a good dude. Came out and asked him. I don't know. I didn't recognize the voice, so it might have been the new ESPN guy. Followed up on that. He's like, listen, these are the tells that make people think that you are lying to us about Kirk Cousins' health. The formations, the lack of play action, the movement, the no mobility. And Raheem Morris went right into coach speak mode. We got to execute better. We've got to make plays when we have plays. I could just reel off it's disconcerting. It is to me. And no, this isn't an overreaction. If anything, I'm underreacting. And again, it's like, oh, it's the first game, people. That's not the point. That's not the point. The point is I've already made the point. Is this how you think you're going to win games, or is this how you think you're going to protect Kirk Cousins? Either way, you've got something wrong, really wrong. If he's hurt, sit him down.
Yeah.
Mike Harvey says, when would Mike go ahead, Nick?
I was going to say, and you used a premium pick to give yourself insurance at the position. It's not like it's Heineke back there. You have, in theory, a viable option. Other rookies stunk this week, but I mean, you have to, if you're so limited schematically and health-wise, it's long-term issues, it's immediate issues. I mean, not acceptable.
No, and I agree. And Mike says, when would Penix be ready? What situation would they make a change? It's not going to be a win-loss record. It's going to be about, do we think that Kirk Cousins can execute enough of the offense that we can put in place that he can be effective? And the Steelers' offense is so bad, and the Falcons' offense is good enough that the Falcons still should have won that game. So, that's what, one of the things that kind of gives me hope is like, listen, we can beat this team playing like this. Okay. It still does not excuse in any way, shape, or form to me if we're in the pistol, we're running. If we're in shotgun, we're passing. That's got to stop, period. That's I don't care who you're playing or what you think. That's got to change. But the Steelers' offense was so bad that you could still win this game. The Falcons still had a chance to win this game. And part of the decision-making, again, this is the one I try and excuse Kirk Cousins on a little bit. He made some really bad decisions. He made more turnover-worthy throws against the Steelers than he did in a month with the Vikings. I think that will get better just through time. But with that game plan, with Kirk Cousins out there, when would Penix be ready? Sunday, last week. I would have rather seen Michael Penix than what they rolled out there with the predictability, with the formations, with the lack of mobility, with Kirk Cousins being a little bit tentative. And maybe that's a mental thing that they just need to clear the hurdle. That's okay. Mm-hmm. But if they're going to run it out there like that, I want Michael Penix right now. And I don't want Michael Penix. I want them to change the way they're doing things.
Yeah, without a doubt. Scott, I'm going to bop out real quick and restart the computer, and hopefully everything will be better there. But it's just kind of, it dips and then it's back again. So it says I have full signal strength. I don't know, but I'll be back in 5.
Okay, Mike, I appreciate you coming in with the super chat and supporting the show. We'll say hello to some more folks and just kind of see what y'all have to say about it. Because going back to Nick's comment, Cousins has to execute better. The game plan is flawed. The game plan was flawed in a big way. How did Dan Orlovsky come out and, he just flat out said, scheme-wise, a complete and total joke. I'm being pretty nice by saying it was flawed. Camden Hill, good morning. Just hope we go out there and look like we played a game of football before this week. I don't even care if we win or lose. Just want to see the Falcons offense look competent. Yeah, and that's what I mean. The defenders of the program in the comments after the fact, it's the first game, people. That's not the point. It's not the point. Yes, it's not about whether the win or loss. We've seen plenty of wins and losses. It's about how they went about it. Gives me big concerns about how they will go about trying to win games in the future, whether from a health standpoint or from a scheme standpoint. One of them was broken in that game. And the play calling has to change. Again, there's no excuse for zero play action. None. Unless you're running a wishbone. which obviously they weren't. Then maybe that's the only time you wouldn't have seen play action. But it's a it's a tough road. It's like, okay, now you get to go to Philadelphia on the road on Monday Night Football, where we know the Falcons have always shined on Monday night primetime games against a really good team. A little bit scary coming up on this one, but again, I just want them to show improvement. If they could start 1-4 and go 10-7 if they get their act together. Said that when the schedule came out. I haven't changed on that, but I didn't see anything that gave me. I won't beat that down. Let's get to y'all. But I already told you what I saw. Red Swarm, good to see you. Says good, wonderful Wednesday morning. Scott and Nick and all my friends in the chat, rise up. Appreciate you being here. Terry Clark says morning ATL. Coach, father, that's us. And yeah, Nick had dad duties last night. I'm glad he's here today because a sick kid, it scares you a little bit too. Jamal D, good morning as well. Alan, good to see you. We said we talked. We got this one from Sean, and I still agree with it. Zach Robinson has to be better. Yeah, it does. Mike Harvey says, can this team beat the Eagles and compete with the Chiefs? They cannot beat the Eagles the way they played on Sunday. No. So can they beat the Eagles? Yes. Will they beat the Eagles? Probably not. I did a prediction I was on a Philadelphia Eagles podcast, and I went 31-13 was the score that I picked for based on what I saw until I see improvements. Then no, there's no way they're going to go to Philadelphia on Monday Night Football and beat the Eagles. Can they get better? Can we make a game out of this? Yes. And is it possible? Yes, anything can happen. I feel better on a natural progression if you make the assumption that they will improve and Kirk Cousins will start feeling a little bit better about that right foot of his, that Achilles, the drive foot, that it will continue to progress. And then maybe you can sneak up on the Chiefs. Road game, Chiefs are looking ahead, 17-game season. They're not going to win 17 games. Maybe you can sneak one out at home there. Right now, if it's the Super Bowl and you're playing the Eagles and the Chiefs, they blow you out. If you played the Eagles and the Chiefs on Sunday the way you played the Steelers, you lost by 3 scores. So it's got to get better, without a doubt. And we expect it to get better, but there's so much fundamentally, not just, they look rusty. Kirk's decision-making was off. There's some fundamental problems with this team right now that we weren't expecting to see, frankly. So yeah, it's a little bit scary on that. Leon, good to see you. He says, good morning to all. Tay bro, he says, we got embarrassed. The offense needs to come out and play angry. They did. That's how they started the first drive. Let's just run it right down their damn throats. And then we'll pass off of that. And then after one or two drives, Steelers figured out, hey, when they're in this formation, they pass. When in this formation, they run. And that was all she wrote. And then there wasn't enough cadence change at the line of scrimmage, and TJ Watt has timed you up. That's really bad. That's really bad. That's enough to lose a game right there when you're going against a guy like TJ Watt. So got to get better. Terry says, is your offensive game plan bad if you're outscored by Arthur Smith? I thought this guy was a passing game coordinator. How do you not account for number 91? For some reason, I thought Watt was 90. So if 91 is TJ Watt, I don't know, especially if you're not going to do any kind of misdirection or play action. I can freeze a guy with play action. If I run a play action at Bijan, if he buys it, which is a 50-50 chance, it's going to halt him long enough that Bijan can then block him a little bit. I can run a play action. There was none. There was just zero. Okay, my key is, they're in a pistol. I'm keying on Bijan Robinson because they're going to run the ball. And if they're in the shotgun, my key is Kirk Cousins because they're going to throw the ball. Holy cow. You can't make it that easy on anybody. You can't make it that easy on a professional player, let alone defensive player of the year. Leon already said hello. He said happy Wednesday back to you as well. This is official. I like that MIATL. It's exactly how Mahomes looked in the Super Bowl a few years back versus Tampa. He had no time to throw. Yeah, but again, that's fine. Their offensive line wasn't great. The one that got me, do you remember when they played the Bengals? The Bengals were running a 2-9. They had 2-man rush and were getting pressure on Mahomes. That's insane. And I think that was the game. I get them all kind of mixed up, but Cincinnati went to the Super Bowl that year. And they beat the Chiefs, and they were running a 2-9. Again, let's go back to some truisms. If I can get a pressure with 2 men and I have a lead, you're screwed. If I can drop 9 into coverage and put pressure on with you with 2 guys. But I promise you, they were still trying to do what Pat Mahomes does well. Cincinnati was just messing it up. The Falcons made this too easy. So the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to give you enough trouble on their own. You can't make it that easy on them, for God's sakes. And Mr. says, I really think it's Zach's play calling. His first game calling plays in the NFL. You would expect it to get better, right? It's one of the things we're kind of counting on. Terry says his arm looked worse than Matt Ryan's. It didn't look good enough. I tell you what, though, the brain was still there, even if it wasn't quite firing on all synapses. Again, he put the ball in harm's way too often, but I can't remember the last time we saw a play on his touchdown pass where quickly he went 1, 2, 3, boom, throw. That's the kind of stuff why you got Kirk Cousins. That and play action pass. So I'm not throwing in the towel on Kirk Cousins. I'm not. He's what? Unless he's not healthy, Nick. And they certainly treated him, despite all the bluster coming out of Flowery Branch. They certainly acted like he wasn't 100% yet. And Nick, I don't know if you can hear me. Or...
He did not look 100%.
I was trying to throw that one over to you.
I can hear you.
Count, that looks like a new name. Count Racula. He says, if Kirk still looks so limited, what in the world is 4 to 6 weeks going to change? Dude's had a year to recover at this point. It can change a lot, but in theory, a 4 to 6 weeks is a break. If you break your ankle, it's 4 to 6 weeks. If you break your arm, it's 4 to 6 weeks. A lot can change over the course of 4 to 6 weeks. But how much is he going to improve if you keep throwing him out there? And he's not healthy. Your odds are it could get worse, especially if you're going to make him a sitting duck back there. But I'm with you on this one, and if you need to sit him, sit him. That's one of the reasons you got Michael Penix.
Yeah, there's no reason to force him out there. I know it's a long season, but like you said, you got Michael Penix. Also, I like your picture there. That's from Old Greg, I think, which was a viral video. So enjoy that.
That must have happened in the last 20 years, so I don't recognize it. Nick, what is that?
No, it's it is a weird one, a British little sketch. Okay. Sketch comedy.
Thomas still says, good morning, guys. If Cousins isn't healthy, I don't know if Penix should play as long as McGary is guarding his blind side. I've seen that before, and I don't agree with that. I understand the concern. I do. But Penix is mobile. Move the pocket around. Bring some help in for him. All this stuff seems obvious enough. But so does not running the same play out of the same formation every time. There's ways you can mitigate that and give Gary some help. And he's not so bad. Again, if I tip my hand to TJ Watt, I don't care who's at right tackle, he's screwed. Let alone a guy who struggles a little bit in a straight drop back pass rush. I can dictate the run. I can run some play action. I can chip him with motion, guys. I can leave a back end to help him out. Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson are solid blockers when they need to be. I can screen pass around those guys. That slows down the rush too if I'm willing to run the ball and go downfield. There's ways to go around this. What I don't want to see is what we saw on Sunday. It's predictable, literally predictable, almost 100% predictable. We say that a lot. Oh, he's so predictable. No. This is statistically predictable And a stationary target with no deception at all. I don't care who's playing right tackle. He's screwed. He was screwed in that game. We talk about, I said Kirk Cousins didn't have a chance. Caleb McGary didn't have a chance in that game, Nick. Caleb McGary had no chance in that game.
Yeah, they didn't
He
give him
play
much.
Great. Don't get me wrong. On running plays, he's still reaching, and it doesn't mean he's without fault. But he didn't have a chance. You got to put your job as a coach is to put your players in position to succeed. Raheem Morris and Zach Robinson failed in week 1.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, McGary had a bad game. TJ Watt looks like a defensive player of the year, but you knew that going in, he's that caliber of player. So frustrating. They even tried to run at him a little bit and he'd get around. So you got to adjust at some point. You can't, I know that they want to be probably an 11 personnel heavy team. But when you have a game wrecker and he actually is destroying the game plan, good coaches adjust. So McGary was hung out to dry. Granted, we talked about it coming in. What does this look like when Arthur Smith was so heavy with personnel packages being tight end related? Now that McGary will probably have to be isolated in true drop back kind of game situations. Not good for the first one, but he arguably played one of the 3 best edge rushers in football. So it will get better from here. This is an Eagles team coming up that's good on the defensive line, but not TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, Keanu Benton, Hightower. So we'll see what happens.
My Swanker, he says, do you think Cousins got rushed to play from injury? Or do you think Cousins wasn't ready to come back yet from injury? There was zero chatter from people that attended practices, attended OTAs, attended all that stuff that Kirk Cousins is favoring his leg. Nothing like that came out. So I'm hoping, I've told you all this story before, my Swanker, and you hear it all the time. Sometimes the last hurdle is the mental hurdle, is the trust. What's it going to be like? And you're a step slow until you do that. I went over the handlebars on my bicycle one time, landed on my head, scratched up my face. I was fine. I had a helmet on. The next time I went to get on my bike, it was like a week later, I almost blacked out. I started reaching for the bike and I like got dizzy and almost blacked out and my knees went out. And I was like, oh my God, this is what athletes have to go through when they're actually really hurt, when they have a serious injury. So I'm hoping, my Swanker, on this one, that Kirk Cousins just needed to get out there and get it done. And structurally, he's fine. Because mentally, he did not trust his right foot, his plant leg. He didn't. You can tell in the way he threw the ball. Physically, we'll find out. We'll find out if it's there or not. So it does. It takes him out there, which is, one of the reasons you kind of want to play a little bit of preseason, Nick.
Yeah. And also the fact that, they're running pistol and stuff. That's stuff that he's not really been used to. I mean, God, it's not hard to watch last year's tape and implement, 10, 12 plays that he executed at a high level from the Vikings last year. It shouldn't be that crazy different from what you want to run. Cause again, it's coming from the same school. So I don't know. I mean, one of the things we talked about leading up all season, on paper, we like the offense, but there's just so much newness and inexperience at the coordinator positions that just adds a huge variable that could tank a unit this season. Now, I'm not saying the unit's tanked by any means, but Zach Robinson, our concerns a little heightened after that first game.
Yeah, and Danny Savage, draft guru, he says, let's be honest, the first 3 weeks of college and NFL is sloppy football. No reason to panic. College is different. That's one of the reasons I loved it so much. Not so much anymore with the expanded playoffs, but by God, your season could be ended in the first 2 weeks of college football. That's what made it fun. But let's take a look. I don't know if it was the last time the Falcons played, but Arthur Smith's first game was against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles were coming off a really bad season themselves. This game's at home. I think it was at home. For some reason, I thought it was at Philly. Doesn't matter. The point is, the Falcons got so bullied in the trenches by an Eagles team that wasn't supposed to be any good. I was like, oh my God, they're not going to win a game. Their trench play is so bad, they won't win a game. They won 7 games, okay? Philadelphia Eagles around October 15th, Halloween last year, looked like the best damn team in football. They look like the best team in the NFL. Power rankings, #1 for me. They were better than the 49ers. We're talking about the AFC's, the NFC's a little underrated with teams like the Eagles out there. and then they just fell apart. So no, there's no reason to panic, but there's definitely reasons for concern. And again, it's not just, oh, they were sloppy. That's not what I'm complaining. That's not what I'm agitating here, is that they were sloppy. Yeah, Kirk Cousins was sloppy. I mentioned Kirk Cousins and Caleb McGary. Caleb McGary missed on a reach block. CJ comes in and blows up a play. Okay, whatever. Kirk Cousins' decision-making wasn't all that great. He put the ball in harm's way. Okay, we'll point it out and move on, Nick. That's not what we're talking about here today. We're talking about fundamental problems that are concerning, that have to change. It's not about just getting sharper, not dropping the ball, not missing open receivers. We're talking about fundamental problems with that game on Sunday that is concerning, that has to change.
Tendencies that were made you predictable. You might as well have said, like, ran up to the line, hey, we're running on this one. That'll have to change this week. There's no doubt there'll be some changes there. But kind of pivoting to the Eagles here, while my internet's kind of had a good streak going here, knock on wood. But I'm not sure how much you caught of that game in Sao Paulo, but I know that we have like some fun some fun new backfields going on. Obviously Lamar and Derrick Henry, but the combination of Jalen Hurts and Saquon Barkley in the backfield. Barkley looked like the guy who was drafted top 10, maybe even 2 overall. I don't even remember what he was, but he looked dynamic, and we're going to find out a lot about the spine of this defense, because when you have Hurts and Barkley back there and Smith and Brown on the outside, you're limited in what you can do throwing bodies to the line of scrimmage. So I'm really curious to see how specifically the linebackers and edge rushers hold, because you're going to have to be disciplined and strong when you have Hurts and a Barkley in the backfield.
Danny, come on, man. You think they paid Kirk $180 million and he's going to sit? One, it wasn't $180 million. It's $100. It's a 2-year, $100 million contract. He's on the hook for 2 years with 2 club options. He will not see $180 million from the Atlanta Falcons. And 2, do you think they paid him $100 million guaranteed over 2 years to blow out his freaking Achilles in the first 2 weeks of the season because he's not healthy? Which is dumber? Come on, man. So he's got to be healthy. You can't risk that out there. It's just, I'm hoping that it's just the last mental hurdle of recovering from a very serious injury. And it's like, yeah, we put him through all the stress tests. We've run him through shuttle drills. We've done all that. We've watched him run. It's good. Okay, there's a definite mental hurdle you have to overcome. And the only way that happens with playing, and I'll say it again, and I think Jimmy said it over here with me over here, stay with the congregation over on Facebook. The preseason might have been good for that. Just get a couple live reps in there, man. Just get a couple in there.
Yeah. I mean, easy to Monday morning quarterback it, right? But they look clunky, and arguably the 2 toughest games of your entire schedule on paper, but are the next 2 games. So we'll see what happens here. We got Sean coming and says, how goes it, Scott? Happy to make the live stream. Good to see you, Sean. I know Scott likes that name. So appreciate you coming in, and good morning to you, even though you're saying hello to Scott. Earl in here as well. Good to see you. He says, do you think it was the wrong choice to go with such an experienced offensive coordinator since we are supposedly win now mode? I mean, you don't know you don't know that until after the fact, right? Like the Texans went with an inexperienced coordinator last year, and he's got head coaching interviews after 1 season, and man, the Texans looked good on offense, Scott. So you just never know, right? It just comes down to more to the individual than the inexperienced, because you go out there and sign, I mean, not to make it dark for you or anything, but like Pat Shurmur. I don't know if you guys follow what's going on in Colorado or Denver, but it just looks terrible. Well, he's got experience. Well, he's not a good coordinator. I don't care if he's got experience. It's not good. So maybe Earl. I mean, at the same time, I think it just matters getting the right guy in there, experienced or not.
And Earl, since I got into this profession, working professionally amongst this since around 2002. So I've got 20 something years in here. One of the first things I ever said, watching these guys keep getting recycled, that the coaching fraternity is like the mafia, man. Once you're a made man, you're in. And it was so frustrating to me to watch these same guys fail and just get rehired and retreaded and retreaded and retreaded. Now, is there an Andy Reid type genius out there who wants to be a consultant? That's where, listen, you don't want to go through the daily grind, but I want you to come in here and be a consultant a passing guru of the pass and self-scout. That's what I've said. The phrase that keeps going through my mind this whole week is self-scout. What are the analytics department saying? Some of this is so obvious that it's got to change. Again, almost 100% of the plays out of the pistol was a run. Almost 100% of the plays out of the shotgun was a pass. Brother, that's got to change. That's horrendous. I don't need Andy Reid to tell me that. I can have an intern from Yale with a mathematics degree in my analytics department that's going to come in here and pull up a sheet and say, "What are you guys doing?" Okay, you're fired. He's right. So I don't necessarily think, Earl, I'm to the point, and I've always been to the point where I want talent over experience, because a lot of these guys, they just keep getting recycled back into the same jobs, and they're not any good. And I'm tired of it. So I applaud them for going out and trying to get a young, especially at the coordinator spot, going out and getting and banking on what they see in talent. Now, will they evaluate correctly? We'll see. We'll see. And Edward coming in, he says, "I don't really have anything to add. All the talking points have been made." Edward, thank you anyway. Thank you so much for the support of the show. Anthony Evans coming in here. He says, the defense over on Facebook, he says, the defense looked good, made stops, put us in position to win that game. Looking good if the offense can get rolling. They did look good. Philadelphia is a different beast than what we saw with the Pittsburgh Steelers. When you've got Arthur Smith running the ball on 3rd and 14 from the 50, because he knows his guy can kick a 60-year, not even that one. Okay, we don't want to turn the ball over. It was 3rd and 6 from like the 40, and he's running the ball. Oh, flashbacks. It worked. It worked. They had one guy on the perimeter that could hurt you, George Pickens. That's it. What was Devontae Smith? What's A.J. Brown? Saquon Barkley. And then Jalen Hurts, whether you think he's overrated or not, is better, especially in Sirianni's system with those weapons, than Justin Fields, who had the handcuffs put on him by Arthur Smith. So, yes, I'm encouraged. Again, you can only go against what they put in front of you. The defense played well. Yeah. I can't count on them to keep the Philadelphia Eagles out of the red zone like they did with the Steelers almost the entire game.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about how good that Eagles offensive line looked. I mean, I know they lost Jason Kelce, but they used a 2nd-round pick 2 years ago on Cam Jurgens, who looks really good out there. Obviously, Jason Kelce is one of the best centers in the last decade, but that's one to watch. They got Landon Dickerson out there, who they paid big money, Jordan Mailata at left tackle, and they brought in Mekhi Becton at right tackle, who looked pretty good, Scott. So, I mean, the Eagles probably have the best or second best offensive line coach in football in Jeff Stoutland. We like to give those offensive line coaches credit, and Stoutland's one of the best. So this is a tough team, without a doubt. And the Falcons, I can't imagine the Falcons defense putting up anywhere close to the performance they had against the Steelers and their issues on offense. The offense is going to need to show up in this one and put up some points if the Falcons are going to have any chance in heck to come away with a win.
Chris Tyler, I like this comment. He says, "I hate that people are calling for Penix. You have to ease a quarterback back from an injury like that, and we all knew weeks 1 to 4 would be rough. Again, preseason would have been nice. It's not just that. If Kirk was just rusty, that's one thing. But they treated him like he wasn't healthy. That's a scarier prospect for me. If he came out and struggled, he's overthrowing, he's underthrowing, the play action stuff, the timing on the motion, fumble, turnover, that's timing, that's rust. I don't care. That's fine. That will get better. I'm not calling for Penix. And I don't know that anybody really seriously is. It's just the question is Kirk Cousins okay? Because you're acting like he's not. And if he's not, then get him out of there. That's not right for the Falcons. It's not right for him. And if he is, take the bubble wrap off and let's go to work. Yeah.
We said it many times on here. We need to not overreact to week 1. That's one of the things that happens the most in the league. Not us, Scott, in general, but just, overall fans, college football, NFL. And we always said it was probably going to be a little bit clunky out of the gate. I didn't expect it to look that clunky. I thought the run game would be able to be, FU to the other side. And you came up against arguably one of the best 2 defenses in football this season, one of the best 3. So we'll see how it plays out. But tough game coming up with the Eagles and these next 2. I mean, they're not gimmies, but you got a chance to steal one. So we'll see how it plays out. I'm not expecting it to look as bad as it did versus the Steelers.
No, I think backs against the wall against the Kansas City Chiefs, overlooking the Atlanta Falcons is a better chance at home. I have no faith in this game to make such a dramatic turnaround from week 1 to week 2 on the road. It's like, well, what does the past have to do with the now? I don't know, but we still keep falling into the same traps year after year after year. And one of those is the Falcons have been just god-awful on Monday Night Football. So let's put out a good showing, at least against the Philadelphia Eagles, and say, oh, yeah, we can see that team starting to come together. That's kind of my hope for this Falcons team on Monday. Not, yeah, you want them to come out with a win. Don't get me wrong. But if they can come out of this saying, okay, we're starting to see it. It's coming together. It's a long season. Then I will consider that a win. On that note, we're going to get out of here. Appreciate you joining us. We will be back on Monday, so we'll dig into the game a little bit more on Monday, and then I may go Tuesday after the game. Just me. Nick might join us, but that's kind of the programming schedule for this week. Actually, Monday, I might be traveling. So we'll see. Make sure you hit the subscribe so you get the alerts and pay attention when we come on. I'll put it on Twitter as well, @ScoutKennedy. But I plan on coming in and saying at least hello on Monday, and then Tuesday we'll be on for sure on Tuesday to do a recap of the Monday night game. On that note, we're going to get out of here. Bucks, Rays, Bolts. Hello, Keith. Good to see you. Danny, appreciate you coming in. And everybody, we're going to jump. I want to say real quick thank you to Sam, to Mike a couple times, and Edward coming in with the super chats. Everybody have a great weekend. We won't be able to talk on Monday about the game. We'll have to wait. So we'll see what everybody else is doing, and we can make fun of them for all of their bad and dumb mistakes. So appreciate you being here. Y'all have a great rest of your week. We'll see you later.